Welcome to the channel, everybody. Thank you for clicking on this video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at infinity focus again, and in particular, what is the lowest aperture you can go to but still maintain infinity focus. Let's run the intro. So in last week's video, I run you through how to get infinity focus, and I think it shocked a few people that I told you to use a middle of the range aperture between f8 and f11. It's kind of counterintuitive, but this week we're going to find out what is really the lowest aperture you can go to but still maintain infinity focus. We're going to get all the equipment set up and we're going to find out. So let's jump into it. Okay, so I've got everything set up now. We've got the camera on a tripod, we've got the monitor attached this week, so I'm going to run you through some of the settings. We're going to be using the Sony again with the Sigma 30mm f1.4. Now, if you've not watched last week's video on the infinity focus, I really recommend watching that first. I'll link it above because this is like a follow-on video from that. What we're going to do is dial in the settings first. We're going to start at f8 and work our way down to probably around f1.4 and seeing if we can really get infinity focus at that aperture. Let's start setting up these settings and jumping into it. Okay, so I've got the camera all set up now. I've got the shot all set up. We're running a shutter speed of 1/100th at the minute, aperture f8. We're exposed correctly with an ISO of 100. Now we're going to be using a 2-second timer, and what we're going to be doing is using the focus assist to focus on these towers over here. And hopefully you can see this now as I do this. I'll hold the camera still as I can. Well, as you can see, you can't see the monitor. I didn't realise this until I got home. Unfortunately, my vlogging camera's got the dynamic range of a jacket potato. So even though I spent 10 minutes trying to explain how I was getting the focus, it's pointless if you can't see the monitor. So what I'll do, I'll get the photos now and then display the settings used as we view each of the photos. Okay, so we've got all the shots we require. What we're going to do is get all this stuff packed back up, head off at home and have a look at all the images on a computer and compare them. Let's do that right now. Okay, so here's our photos that I've taken. We're starting at f8 and we'll be working our way down all the way to f1.4. Now, again, I'm going to be using Manfrotto viewer. Now, this is a great viewer. It also gives you the settings used on each of the photos, so I'll show you that as we go through them. But let's have a look at the f8 and check for sharpness. First thing to do is always change it to 100%. And let's start at the bottom. And as you can see, the grass is really sharp. We'll work our way through the image all the way up. That looks sharp. The roofs are looking good. In the center of the image, it looks perfect. And the towers, these are what we're focusing on, these towers in the distance here. They're about 3 miles away. And they're perfectly sharp also. So we know f8 is going to give us infinity focus. Let's have a look at f7 now. Okay, so here's f7.1. Let's open this one and have a look at it. Again, change it to 100%. Let me just show you the what settings we were using. If you look over here, we're using, if I bring it over here, so F number is 7.1 just here, and exposure time, so this is your shutter speed. I have it at 1/125th of a second at f7.1. Let's close that down. Close that down. Let's have a look through the image. Again, the grass is really sharp down here. Hopefully YouTube ain't compressing this too much for you and you can actually see this on your screen also. Branches are looking really good. Roofs are looking sharp. How are them towers looking? Because we focus on these really should be the sharpest part of the image. And yeah, they're looking absolutely perfect. So at f7.1, we're perfectly fine. Let's have a look at f6. Now, just before I open the f6.3 one here, what I want you to do is comment below what aperture you think is going to start to get blurry. Do you think it's going to be f6.3, f5 or lower? Okay, and we'll go to 100% again. And I'll also just show you the information again. So there's our aperture, f6.3, and as you can see, our shutter speed's increased to take into account that we're lowering our aperture. So because it's at f6.3, we've got a shutter speed of 1/60th. Let's exit that and close that. Let's have a look at this grass down here at the bottom. And that looks super sharp. In fact, that looks slightly sharper than the f7, I'd say. All these twigs are perfectly sharp. The roofs are looking very sharp there. All the way through the image there, and again the towers are exceptionally sharp. So at f6.3 we've still got infinity focus. Let's have a look at f5. Go to 100% as per usual. Scroll down, have a look at the grass. Again, absolutely sharp as anything down there. Through the middle of the image, and the twigs are all looking good. The roofs are looking absolutely fine. Up through the image, and again the towers are looking very sharp. Let's just have a look at the information again. So our F number is f5 and we've got a shutter speed of 250th. So f5 is absolutely fine. Let's go to f4. So f4, let's open it and have a look. Again, 100%. And that grass is still looking sharp. Twigs are looking fantastic. The roofs, I would say they're just very, very slightly softer. Just maybe a tad. These twigs and these roofs are just starting to become a little bit softer, but still very sharp, I'd say. And again, the towers are perfectly fine. So f4, maybe just 5% softer. Let's have a look at f3.2. And again, 100% it. Just a look at the information on this one again, just to show you where we're at. So we're at aperture f3.2, shutter speed of 1/500th of a second. And again, that grass is actually looking sharper than the f4. I'm wondering if the f4 one was just slightly out of focus. Maybe I misfocused on the tower slightly. Because that again is looking very sharp. And twigs, and look at the bark there on that tree, that looks very sharp. And yeah, the roofs look again very sharp. So I must have just slightly misfocused on the f4. This is back to being as sharp as the f6. And them towers are looking absolutely fine. So f3.2, sharp as you like. Let's have a look at f2. %, it again. And that grass is just slightly softer, I'd say, just very, very slight, hardly noticeable. Twigs are it's looking like a little bit like it's f4 again. This is just very slightly softer, but that bark is looking pretty good. Let's have a look at the roofs. The roofs are looking sharp as anything. So we're just starting to get a little bit soft around this area. But the roofs are looking absolutely perfectly fine. Up to the towers. And in fact, this is slightly overexposed, this image. Ignore that, we're not looking at that, we're just looking at sharpness. And again, these towers are looking fine. So at F2, we're just getting a tiny bit of softness around this area here. Most people wouldn't even notice it because we're pixel peeping. It's just very slightly softer. Let's have a look at F1.4 though. Okay, let's have a look at F1.4. And to my eye, that is looking slightly soft straight away, but let's 100% it and have a proper look. Okay, yeah, this is definitely soft. It looks like it's actually slightly out of focus, but that may be down to the aperture. Yeah, this is all soft here, all these twigs, very soft, roofs are soft. Actually looks pretty sharp around this area here, these houses. And the towers, so from the towers to about here, about these trees, houses, that's all looking sharp. It's come softer from here. Let's have a look at the information on that and just check our settings. So we're at F1.4. We've got a shutter speed of 3,200ths per second, and that is, yeah, this is definitely the worst, and it comes sharp from here onwards. Okay, there we go. And there you have it. So at F2 we were still able to get an acceptable level of sharpness all the way through our image, even to 3 miles away. Now that goes against everything you're taught as a photographer. You see, when you first start out, you're told crank up that aperture to the highest it can go, and that will give you everything in focus. The problem with that is many lenses at their highest aperture don't give you the sharpest results. So the way I do it, I normally choose an aperture middle of the range for the lens, focus on the furthest object, and that's going to give you really nice sharp images throughout the whole photo. What I'm going to do now is explain how and why this works in simple terms. I'm going to give you a scenario here, and I want you to really try to imagine it. Imagine, if you would, that you've got your camera set up and you're at an aperture of f3 and you're taking a picture of a person, say 3 meters away from the camera. The background from that person is a further 3 meters on. What that's going to do is really blur the background out due to the aperture of the camera and the distance the subject is away from the background. Now, many photographers want that. They want that blurry background. But let's imagine, if you would, that you could move that subject 3 miles away and still focus on them, making them the furthest object in the scene to focus on. To get the same level of blurriness that you would at 3 meters, you would have to move the background 3 miles further away to get the same level of blurriness, like I say. But because they're the furthest object in the scene, there is no background for it to go blurry. And that's why you're able to get a really sharp image all the way through the photo. And that's the basics of it. I hope that kind of makes sense to you, and I've explained it simply enough just so you get an understanding of it. Well, hopefully you can understand that, and the best thing to do is go out there and practice. Focus on the furthest object in your scene, an aperture middle of the range for your lens, and then give it a shot and see how well it performs and see how sharp your images are. Anyway, that's going to bring this episode to an end. I hope you've thoroughly enjoyed it. If you have, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comment below. And if you want to see further content from myself, hit that subscribe button. But that's it for now. We'll catch up in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.